You got stuff pulled up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're live, right?
Yeah, but nobody's in here yet.
Yeah, but just in case, we may as well
People
start talking
start.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just gonna pull some stuff up here. Yeah, I mean, have you looked at anything, Bobby, or like you got your
I've just been looking
projections
this
pulled
just for
up?
the
You
last 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's about all you really need technically because we got so many different things going on this week. And just big news just came in. Alvin Kamara won't play. Jamal Williams probably going to get a bump in the projection model as well. Now
Hmm.
at 50, he's 5,200. He's going to get some uses. They have to win that game. That's a game I currently like, just in the fact that they have to play the game. Atlanta Saints and Bucks. Those games are going to be more competitive because they have to play those games,
Hmm.
try to win to get in, so they're going to be a little bit more competitive game this week. Um,
Yep.
I don't know if you looked at any other competitive games that you want to mention that, or
Yeah,
anything that
like
noticed.
I think it's always interesting these last weeks of the season, and I've actually like had a really good. I was kind of bummed that I couldn't play. I thought I could. I entered a bunch of lineups, and I was going to come down here in Mexico and just be able to edit them, and they wouldn't even let me edit that do that style, which is weird because that's sort of their. You've always been allowed to do that. So I had my host, take me out of all the contests. So I kind of lost a little energy. I also realized I wasn't going to have much time to do as much research, but like you said, you don't really need as much because it's just such a wild week. But the things that I noticed, like it's always that question of like, do you want to play or do you want to play some of the guys with maybe nothing to play for? Like, for example, like in the Bears case, Justin, they're going to go all out against Green Bay. They're not going to. It doesn't matter to them that they're not in the playoffs. Justin Fields is still playing for a job, basically. I mean, he basically. I think they're. We don't know what they're doing with the draft and all that, but things like that. Like, do you want to play these games that are either the games that are meaningless or the teams that are meaningless, or do you want to focus on the competitive games that are going? And I guess that's the real question you ask yourself on this one. I personally am sort of split on it for this week with what I would do. But again, I didn't put as much time and effort into it this week because I'm not able to actually play. And I didn't know I would be able to make it for any content or anything like this on here. So the ones that stood out are there's the obvious like value plays that are in games that in some spots don't even matter. Sorry, it's so loud here. But Nick Mullins obviously showing up as a top value. I think that's a Detroit second. I think that's a pretty reasonable spot. Tyrod Taylor against Philadelphia. I think that's a reasonable spot. What the real question for me is like, I don't think I would do anything like with Carson Wentz, but like would I go for Justin Fields? And I think that would probably be the guy I'd be the most interested in. That's in a quote unquote, it's meaningless to the team, the Bears, whether they win or lose. But I think they're trying to win this game, and he would be the guy I would probably spend up for on this slate. So those would be my small quarterback pool, along with maybe throwing in a Jordan Love or maybe a Kyler Murray into the mix. What are you thinking overall here, Brody?
Yeah, I like the Jordan Love play. I got a little bit of him. I kind of like Baker Mayfield and the Evans Godwin stack a little bit, being they have
Mm-hmm.
to win. I know the Jags are getting some ownership, a little bit just because they're cheap, but Lawrence is banged up a little bit, but they have to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
The Jaguars, Christian Kirk's a 3K play. We'll talk about it. Receiver, obviously, that's super cheap. I haven't got made official he's in or anything, but I mean he was activated. He's good to go. So I'm sure they wouldn't activate him. They have to win the game. Hurts
Right.
and Dak, I think, are going to play a little bit, but at the same time, they could blow the team out and get a good lead, run the ball a little bit, and then take the starters out in the fourth quarter as well. There's a little worry there. I think the same with the Lions. The Lions really haven't mentioned what they're going to do. They said everyone's a full go, but at some point at halftime they could sit all their guys too. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a worry too. But because they really can't do anything unless both Dallas and Philly lose
Mm-hmm.
this week. So that's kind of a concern. I do like some of the Lions plays because I like the Minnesota side of it. Nick Mullins is going to be pretty popular. He's going to be chucking it. I think Jefferson is going to be there. You got, some stack options with Munt or, some cheaper guys there you could play as well. I think they're going to be trying to play. And if Lions pull their starters, their defense hasn't been all that great the last end of the season. It's been good high scoring games for the Lions. There's some competitive games,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that. Some other ones that I didn't
I
mention.
guess
Oh,
I forgot to mention Dak also. Did you say Dak?
Yeah, I said Dak, but I said I'd be a little worried in that game. I mean,
Yeah.
Dak's the overall top projected play. Same with Hurts on the slate. I did do some Dak stacks. I like stacking him with CD Lamb and Ferguson, kind of with no run back in that game. I mean, I think they could blow him out. One I didn't mention was Geno's probably a decent stack. Tyler Lockett's very cheap today. You can get that at Arizona in a dome game, and then Derek Carr, the Saints are playing for something as well at 5,600 with Olave, Shaheed, Juwan Johnson type stacks. We'll talk about the players later, but I'm just kind of going through stacks and plays here. Yeah, and then if I see any news, there's just a lot of also like all the cheap quarterbacks too. You know, Gabbert starting for KC. You got Ryan Tannehill. Oh, I didn't mention that with the Tennessee. You know, yeah, Tannehill is playing at 4,800, but DeAndre Hopkins has some really big incentives. Probably the ones most incentives on the slate today. He gets 49 more yards. He gets $1 million bonus. He gets 7 more catches. He gets $250K bonus. So he could potentially make 1.2 million. I know a lot of people don't like Ryan Tannehill throwing it to him because he was getting more work when Will Levis got in the game. So there's a little worry there. I know, but man, I think Hopkins comes out and plays in that game. And I know Tennessee's trying to be spoiler to the Jags as well. I don't know how everything stands out, but with Steelers winning, it changes a lot of different things. The Bills are going to be a late night game, but they're going to have a lot more to play for now against the Dolphins, and the Jags really got to win this week. So those are kind of what's shaking out in the industry. I guess if you want, we can move to some running backs and start talking about if you did anything on like any running backs.
Yeah. I mean, just you know, you have the chalky. Like I think that you've got Jordan Mason's going to be probably the most popular. I guess as much as maybe the most popular player overall in the slate. And just to throw it out there that San Francisco will always look at 3 different running backs today. Like they're gonna let other guys touch the ball too. So just throwing that out there. I do think spending up will be a little bit spending up outside of. I guess it's not even spending up really because you don't really have that many guys to spend up for. But I like Rachaad White as a way to get, I don't understand why Rachaad White isn't more popular, to be honest with you. I thought he would be like just an absolutely insane chalk. Maybe with Kamara officially out, that'll add something to it. I don't know. But to me, it makes no sense why Rachaad White at 7,600 is not like mega chalk when you've got value all over the place against the worst run defense in football in a must-win game. I just cannot understand it. So I think Rachaad White is my favorite play at running back. You have and then you have a million guys you can pair him with it. Like I said, with the value. Jordan Mason was the other one, but then you've got the more mid tier, the Zamir White, Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones. I'm fine with all those guys, but if I can get Rachaad White at just a little bit more expensive in a must-win spot, I think I'd rather go that way. He's also been more productive than all these other guys anyway. So I think White and Pollard would be my favorite guys to spend up for, and I certainly understand the Jordan Mason thing. I was looking for other pivots off of that, and Ronnie Rivers is one you could consider for the Rams. It's obviously a terrible matchup, but I think that he'll get enough work to justify it. The other ones, it's funny because it's not really valued. It's like everybody in the 6K range. I think that there's a spot that it feels weird, but I think Tajay Spears is definitely in play at least for me. That's what I would say. What do you got at running back, Rody?
Yeah, I really liked running backs today. I think you can get different in a lot of ways, and I think with Kamara getting out, actually that kind of really makes things interesting because now you have a Jamal Williams play.
Oh, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, that's cheaper now, so like it adds another cheap back that you can play. So yeah, let's see if I can figure out how to adjust the screen a little bit so I can get.
Tell you one guy I'm not playing. I would not be playing would be Chuba Hubbard though. A guy I actually like in general, but I don't like taking running backs against Tampa Bay, and I think there's so many running backs in a similar that I would just rather play basically all of them. I think James Conner is the other one. I think Conner, White, and Pollard are probably my 3 favorites as of right now, personally.
Yeah,
and I guess Jamal Williams, but the only thing is Jamal Williams is like, is there a chance that they even don't let him get all the attention? I mean, he'll get the bulk of it, I guess. I'm just sort of trying to think about anything because he's going to become massive chalk, right?
Yeah, maybe, but you have so many options today. Let me give a rundown on running backs as well here. I was just getting some stuff organized on the producing side of it here. I got it set up a little bit better now. All right, so Rashad White is a play I like. You're right. I don't know why he's not getting more ownership. I just think it's because it's spread out a little bit. I mean, you got Pollard's kind of cheap. He's getting a little bit more ownership. Dallas has to win. They think he's going to run the ball, get some touchdowns. I like Aaron Jones with no Dillon today. He's getting a lot more chalk, though. You also have Zamir White at 6K. You got some really nice 6K options. Zamir White is getting a lot of work. They're only going up against Denver. They said that there's a lot to play for in Vegas. You know, the coach is trying to win. He's trying to, get a head coaching job. So Devontae Adams came out and said they're playing for a lot this week in the pride a little bit. So Adams and Zamir White, in that game. James Conner against Seahawks is a good run back in that stack, but he's getting chalky. You got Bijan Robinson against the Saints in that same game. He's a little bit lower owned, so not a bad run back in a Saints stack. I do like the Saints passing attack a little bit more over that Jamal Williams play, although we'll see how ownerships adjust. But I think I'm really on the passing side of it today, but we'll see. And then you also got like ETN in a game where Lawrence is kind of banged up a little bit. Maybe they feed him a little bit more dump off passes to him. They have to win this game, so ETN should get all that work. And he's a low-owned play. He's just a little expensive. So if we can save some money on some of these cheap quarterbacks or these cheap receiver options, you can play these guys, these 7K guys like ETN and Rashad White. I think are good plays. And then Kenneth Walker also is getting some chalk. He's a $6,500 player against Arizona. They want to win the game too. They're playing all their starters. And then also, a guy that I don't want to mention, but Joe Mixon, he's got a lot of player incentives today. I know Chase Brown was getting a lot of work behind him. He's a low-owned option. Cleveland's sitting a lot of their starters. As well. You think that they might sit Mixon some, but I mean, they really like to go for these. He's almost at 1,000 yards on the season. That's a big milestone. They like.
It's also a big rivalry game too, the Cincinnati Cleveland.
Yeah. So I think that Mixon might get a little bit more work than people are thinking. So that's what he's a little bit lower on. So, take that for what it's worth. But I think it's a rivalry game. He's got the 1,000 yard season incentive. And, I think that's what guys, if you haven't noticed, I'm playing games that matter today. I'm playing guys that matter. That's kind of the way I'm going about things today. If we look at some cheap guys, you do have on the other side of that game, we haven't known who's going to play for Cleveland running backs. You do have Pierre Strong at 4,000. You would think Hunt and Ford and them guys are active, but you think they would not play as much. So maybe Strong at 4,000 gets a little bit more play in. Jordan Mason at 4,600. I really like him today. I know they play 3 running backs, but I know a lot of people are worried about going down this dumpster dive, but I think it's really going to be spread out down here. Although he's real chalk, I think he's a good play. Tajay Spears at 4,600 is a low own, and Tennessee spoiler. He's getting a lot of pass work. Maybe Jacksonville gets up and he just comes in and they don't play Henry as much. They've been doing that anyways. Ronnie Rivers, what Bobby talked about, the Rams, I do like him a lot at the 4K price tag a little bit. Not as much ownership as Pierre Strong or Jordan Mason. It really looks like a couple of these value backs are really strong. So it's going to keep those expensive running backs ownerships down a little bit. So maybe we tend to only want to use one of the cheap values and then play a couple of the stud running backs is my opinion today.
Yeah, I was curious because I wanted to understand the San Francisco thing a little bit better because are we just convinced that they're not because they're saving Eli Mitchell and like they're saving their backup running back and their starting running back for the play? Like it just are we sure Eli Mitchell's not going to play more than like what if he just plays the whole first quarter? Even that.
Yeah, that's a concern I have a real big concern I have. But also I've been kind of into it a little bit. CMC is hurt. Like I mean they might need Elijah Mitchell week the first week of the playoffs that they play. We'll see how CMC does. I mean, CMC is probably going to pull through fine, but they might not want to risk Elijah Mitchell. They don't need this game. They're already number 1 seed.
Right.
Let Mason get some more reps because I mean he's had a decent game. He has one decent game. Mason did where he scored a touchdown earlier mid-season or whatever. But like let this guy get some work. See what he's got. They've used Elijah Mitchell. They know what he's got. So I think that's what everyone's kind of banking on, the Jordan Mason call. But you could be right, though. They could give Mitchell some more first half work and Mason second half work. And, that could be how they split it. And who gets the best of it gets the best of it.
Yeah, that's what worries me a little bit is because I think Eli Mitchell's really good. And I think they know he's really good. And anytime that he's going to have an opportunity, the problem is it's just a meaningless game for them. So it does seem more like the logic is the Mason thing. But when the entire field is thinking that, maybe it's good to pivot a little bit direct. I think I would be under the field on Jordan Mason today personally, just because I would want to try to do something different. And I would be speculative that they would play Eli Mitchell, or maybe even give it Eli Mitchell a couple of goal line carries or something like that might cut into it. And you also have, what's his name up there as well, who will get a little bit of work, Jeremy Nichols. They're going to definitely use at least on some third down stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To end the running back section, we have all those cheap guys, but just remember, you still have ETN that's low owned, Rachaad White that's lower owned. Even Breece Hall in a game against the Patriots, he's been dominating at 7,200. I didn't mention him. Aaron Jones, you got 6K. Zamir White, you have some good expensive plays today, guys. So if you want to take the Bobby approach and be underweight on Mason or some of those cheaper backs, my brother, he's all in on these more expensive backs today. He's like, why are you playing Jordan Mason? Why? I was like, I like some of these cheap backs, but you're right. I need to get some more exposure to these guys in meaningful games that win that are more expensive. And we'll get to the cheap receivers next.
Just for what it's worth, I want to throw out one other thing about Rachaad White. I think he's being misprojected. I'm looking at different industry projections on him. I don't have any clue as why he's not just raw points wise the highest projected player on the slate. Like I said, he first of all, he outproduces all these guys every week anyway. For some reason, Pollard, Jones, Barkley, Breece Hall. This is the number one matchup in football for running backs in a must-win game. I just want to keep re-emphasizing that point. I don't really understand the logic of why Rachaad White is projected less than 20 plus fantasy points today. This should be a spot where he smashes.
So for what it's worth, Goldie's aggregate projection that I have shown here on here, I'm going through the list, has Rachaad White as the highest.
It does by half a point, yeah.
But if you look at just Saberson projection, he's probably 4th or 5th on the list.
5th, yeah.
So what Bobby's saying is right. So the industry is kind of showing that he's a really good play based on an aggregate. That's what we show here, guys. And then we see that he's a good play based on overall other running backs. So Bobby's onto something there. I think Rachaad White is a good play. Could be probably going to be in one of my main lineups. I'm doing a couple in the Wildcat today, and then kind of just a couple spread out in some single entries and some MME stuff. It's going to be a wild day today, so we'll just kind of see how it shakes out. So all right, we'll move over to receivers. You want to go, or do you want me just to kind of?
Why don't you already start receiver, and then I'll go after you.
Okay, yeah. So receiver also matters on like the games that matter. Like I know Bobby's talking about Chicago game. Like you got DJ Moore against Green Bay. I like the Aaron Jones DJ Moore combo. I like the run back. We need some news really on the Jaden Reed stuff. Actually, there's a lot of games late this afternoon, guys. So I don't expect some of this news to be at lock or maybe noon, but. Some will come later this afternoon on Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, some of those receivers that we want to pair Jordan Love with in that game. But DJ Moore is good to go. You got Justin Jefferson is the stud I really like. I know CD's playing for something as well. He's getting a lot of both of them getting a lot of ownership because people are playing the cheap running backs. So I think playing these 7K guys like DJ Moore, Mike Evans at 7,400 in the game that matters. DeAndre Hopkins at 61. Tyler Lockett is way too cheap here at 5,600. Chris Godwin at 6,300. If you want to get off the Christian Kirk 3K chalk, you got Kelvin Ridley at 6,500. I think most people play Jags double stacks, or you can just play him as a one-off. I like that. And then we got Jaden Reed still questionable, 5,700. His price is still pretty good. He gets a lot of rushing work too and sweeps and stuff. If he's in the game. But you got Watson back too, so you got to be careful with who you stack. Musgrave's back for that stack as well. You got Jordan Addison at Detroit here at 5,300. He's getting a lower ownership if you want to pivot off of Jefferson. Drake London at 5K. I like in the Saints game. I like Saints passing, and I like, I missed Olave. And then Shaheed should be down here too, somewhere in the 4,700 range. Yep, here's Shaheed. Like him, he's a low-owned play. He's been kind of busting for us a few weeks. So I expect him to have a decent week one of these weeks and just like, why didn't I have him? I've been playing him, that type of thing. So just keep riding him out a little bit for me. And then you got, here's the Kirk play. He's projected about 11 points at 3K. That's pretty good. He's probably a little underprojected in the industry, but another one is Puka Nacua here. I missed him at 7,800. He's got a bunch of rookie incentives for most rookie yards or something too for receiver or some crazy stuff. So there's some incentive to get him the ball early and often there in that game. Maybe they throw a bunch of passes to him early. He could rack up some receptions and maybe even get a touchdown. So, on the dumpster dive in here, I mentioned, the 3K Christian Kirk, but you also do got some other plays like Josh Reynolds at 3,300, some cheap Khalif Raymond stuff. Like if the Lions do sit some of their top guys, like Amon leaves early, you could see some of these other guys like getting some work here. Khalif Raymond, Donovan People-Jones, Josh Reynolds. These guys are all 3K. The only ones playing today is expensive. Amon St. Brown. You don't play him. You play one of these 3K guys and hope for he has the game against Minnesota in the Dome. So that is a nice game environment too, as well, guys. So I don't know if you have any other takes. I gave a lot of plays there.
No, that's cool. I've actually do have some other ones. I really like this Seattle, Arizona. I like a lot of the afternoon stuff today. So I think that, and like you're going to have ownership on Lockett because the prices seems a little too cheap. I would say that you could easily pivot and play Metcalf. I love Metcalf today. JSN, I would be in on that play as well. On the other side, I actually have a little bit of interest in actually all the Arizona receivers because I haven't seen Seattle prove that they can really defend consistently. Arizona's been really good at offensively in general, and they always have been at home. James Conner obviously was another play that I forgot to mention, but just getting a lot of exposure to that game. But I like a lot of the receivers in that one quite a bit. I also think that because it's a tough matchup against Dallas, that you're going to get low ownership on the Washington side of things. If you're going to have a team that throws the ball 45 times, look, somebody's going to get there. So I love Curtis Samuel as sort of like a little bit of a different, cheap play that we've had available to us all year. So people are sort of like not doing it and they're going for these other ones. Like, I don't know, Richie James is projecting really like, get out of here with that for me. Like I have no interest in any of that nonsense. Khalif Raymond, I understand the logic, but I would rather play like DJ Chark or something like that. You know what I mean? But overall, I like the afternoon games for this. I mentioned the Seattle, both sides, the Seattle, Arizona wide receivers. I think the Washington wide receivers will be overlooked. CD is going to be so insanely popular that if you can find a fade, and I think he's a legitimately awesome play, but if you can find a fade, maybe throw a Brandon Cooks lineup or two in there, just because Washington is the Coors Field these days of the NFL. You just get all the offense against them because always goes nuts. So those were my main different takes of yours. I'm good with the Jefferson chalk, and I'm good with the CD chalk. But I also think there's plenty of other ways to build where there's guys who are going to put up similar numbers. You mentioned DeAndre Hopkins before. He's another one. It's like Hopkins, Metcalf versus like CD and Richie James or something like that, or one of the other, one of the other cheapos. So I prefer doing that just because you're getting slightly lower ownership combined and you're going with a slightly differentiating build. And that's the way I'm looking today. So I like trying to spend a little bit more in the mid tier than go completely dumpster diving. And if I had to, pick between everybody in dumpster dive, I think that I would probably lean on, I don't even know who it would be because there's so many guys that are sort of up in the air. I guess I still would go back to that I like some of the Arizona guys. I think that's probably the Arizona guys and to some extent the Giants guys. I think both those sides, Wan'Dale Robinson, Greg Dortch. I think those are the interesting cheapos for me.
Yeah, the only problem is I'm showing on screen here. The only thing I have issues with is that Dortch and Michael Wilson now are priced up. Dortch is 4,600 and Michael Wilson's 4,400. So that's a little bit more than what they've been. Wilson's been in the 3K range, when Sheets lost all that needed him to do something. The next week he had a big game. That's got to be pretty tilting for Sheets. But yeah, they have to throw it to somewhere, and still 4K is great price for them. I don't disagree. Yeah. That's a good play. And that gives you a difference in the build. You're not getting the 3K guys that like Richie James and Christian Kirk. You're moving up to the 4K, and then you're probably getting a 6K or in there 7K, 7,200, which is a little different. So get your build different is what we kind of talked about yesterday on the show as well, guys. That we did on Saturday. The only thing I have to go back, I think we mentioned pretty much all the solid receivers. I did mention Hopkins more early. If you're just joining in, don't forget to hit the like button. But I did mention Hopkins with some big incentives earlier in the video. 49 yards for $1 million, 7 catches for 250K. He's got some big incentives. And then we also talked some games that are more competitive, like the Bucs, the Saints, the Falcons want to win, the Packers, Chicago Bears, games that we're on a little bit more based on wanting to play and win. Eagles in Dak do have to win. Dallas does have to win too. They could blow them out. And I think that Seahawks Arizona game that Bobby just was talking a lot about is a really good game. It's in a dome. It's got a decent total. It's a game where you're getting players where they're not getting owned like Dortch and Michael Wilson and that Kyler Murray side of it, and then or just running one of those back with the Geno Lockett Metcalf stack that we talk about, just maybe even single stack and DK like Bobby like with JSN or something as well. So let's move on to tight end. We're not doing too bad on time. We did spend a significant amount at running back and receiver, well, QB a little bit in the pregame talks on the good game. So I'm sure this will continue with tight end. So do you want to start or do you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead and start, actually. I appreciate it.
Well, you also got Trey McBride. Perfect start. We just talked Arizona, Seattle. So you can run Trey McBride and James Conner are going to be the two chalkiest in that game. But if you pivot off to some of those other lower owned receivers that we talked about just now, you could do that. But McBride's getting a lot of work in this game. They can't stop the pass as good for Seattle. I think he's going to be getting a lot of passes over the middle. Very good option. I also like Evan Ingram today. I like the Trevor Lawrence, Ridley, Ingram stack. I built a few of those earlier kind of in MME. I like that as well to get off the Kirk stuff a little bit. I think Ingram gets a lot of work, dump off. So if Lawrence is kind of still banged up pretty good, then he could get a lot of quick passes. Laporta, we're interested to see what the Lions do. They are the early game, so maybe we get some news on them, but I think they're full go. He's been a good play, but they could bench guys later. Ferguson's another guy they could bench later, but 4,900 a good price for a guy Dak's been looking at. A lot of end zone targets. I like him. Goddard, same way. No Devontae Smith this week. He gets a bump when Devontae Smith is out. His projection I do like a little bit. I'm a little higher on, actually. His ownership's getting up there a little bit. Cole Kmet in that Packers game I really like as a run back in my Green Bay stacks. Gerald Everett, 3,900, getting 10 targets last week. Hard to overlook that at lower ownership. But, I mean, that game could be a little wonky, but they're resting a lot of people in KC, so maybe the Chargers come out and want to play for something. Juwan Johnson in 3,600 has been killing it in your Saints stack. Johnny Munt's another guy I should mention, 3K tight end for Minnesota stack with Mullins. Just a cheap guy getting a lot of targets. Hawkinson usage actually quite crazy. Then you got some cheapos like Noah Gray that's viable, 2,500. And then really that's kind of it. I wouldn't say Tucker Kraft's a good play anymore this week. I did list him up, but you got Musgrave back, so there could be some split work there. Just worry about that a little bit. And I don't know if I missed anything. Maybe Kyle Pitts in the stack against the Saints, but
I like the guys you mentioned. I have a more of a narrow look at the pool guys I would be using. I think the Noah Gray thing, I understand it, is a little speculative for me. One, I expect Kelsey to play and start and probably play at least until he gets his 16 yards to get his 1,000-yard season. Taylor's also in LA with him right now, so they're going to at least make sure he gets that. So I'm not sure that Noah Gray is going to get. I mean, he'll still get, and he'll get a lot of the rest of the game. But then you also have Blake Bell there, who will get a little bit of work. So I understand it, but if it's up to me, I like Davis Allen. I really like Davis Allen. I like this kid anyway for the Rams. 2,500. That would be my pivot off of Noah Gray. Weirdly, they're projected with, the Sabersim has them within a point of each other. The industry has them within 1.5 fantasy points of each other. And you're going to have, Davis Allen at I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 5% ownership. And you're going to end up with Noah Gray, I think probably double digit. And then everybody's going to play Johnny Munt. Okay. I am not as sold on playing a guy who might end up being 20% owned by the end of the day. It doesn't feel right. I would rather play Davis Allen. I would rather play Gerald Everett. I know it's a different price tier, but I actually really do like Gerald Everett today. And then as a spend up, I agree with you about Ferguson, or spend up ish. Ferguson makes a lot of sense. And then the guy who's going to be forgotten is Evan Ingram. And again, they need to win too. So I am on the Evan Ingram side of that. So those would be my small pool of guys to go with the obvious Trey McBride play, which of course I would be way overweight on, as I love that game.
Yeah, Evan Ingram might be one of my favorite tight ends today. I kind of been putting him in a lot more stuff. I really like that play today, so that's definitely a good call.
Take a look at Davis Allen too, because this, not only is he talented, remember Carson Wentz, this guy loves to throw to tight ends, going back to his whole career in Philly. And even after he moved, he loves to throw the ball to the tight end. Davis Allen is a guy who's athletic. He's big. He can catch the ball. Not a ton of other things. I do want to mention, I didn't throw this out there before. I should have mentioned it. Tutu Atwell is another cheap receiver that no one's going to be on as much, and I think that he's a really interesting spot for the Rams as well. Maybe it's my Rams bias that I know these guys a little bit, but Atwell and Davis Allen both show up as being really, really good plays for me personally.
Yeah, I like that Davis Allen play. I haven't built all my MME lineups, so I'll probably add some of those cheap tight ends. I wanted to do the show, see what the news comes, and wait a little bit on MME just to kind of make sure I get all the guys in that I want. So, yeah. I like that call, and I definitely like getting off of Mutt at 3K any way you can. He's very chalky. That game is expected to be a pretty big Vikings score, but it could also be, anything can happen. So might not get all the work. So I definitely like some of those higher up tight ends today.
It could, we know that could go a wide range of outcomes with Nick Mullins, and you might get the 5 turnover game, but you also still might get like 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, it's really hard to know with that guy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
He slings it.
Well, you also let's not forget about Josh Oliver. He does get some work too,
Yeah.
He's got a couple of catches recently.
That's very true, by the way. It could easily be Josh
like
Oliver.
He even had an end zone target the other game. Because I was watching it, the game. So yeah, and they throw to their tackles in the end zone.
Yep.
Or like
that's true. No, that's fair.
Well, like I've seen a lot of tackles getting touchdowns, and like it's end of the game. It's the last game of the season, so they're not playing for anything really. I mean, kind of, yeah, they are, but like the Vikings are, but any other teams here are random things, trick plays, and like Detroit tried to win it with the tight end. Other tackles get touchdowns all the time, so you just got to be worried about tight ends. If they don't get the usage during the game down the field, then the end zone's not always there at the end of the season. Yeah, they're trying to get guys touchdowns. They're trying to get different players in the game. That's a lot of weird stuff's going to happen today, guys. So be prepared for some weird stuff. Absolutely. It's the end of the season. Teams are not playing for stuff, bringing in weird packages, weird plays, trying things out to end the season. So,
and we can complain, but we shouldn't complain when our guys all of a sudden like are taken out of the game in the fourth quarter of a meaningless spot. Like, it's just going to happen. Unfortunately, this has always been the last week of the season has always been my best weeks because I really have gotten pretty good at the mixing around, finding the weird plays and stuff like that. One time I can't even remember who it was. It was a guy running back for Washington who they didn't even know would play, and he scored 50 fantasy points and nobody else on the entire slate had 30, and he was literally 0.1% owned. 0.1. 1 out of 1,000 people took him. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to get a little bit wild today. And I would just encourage to go for the wildness rather than playing it. That's why I didn't like the month thing as much, just because I understand it. Maybe it does go that way. I would just rather go with the get weirder stuff on these kind of slates when you're going to have extreme chalk and spots that I don't think it necessarily makes as much sense as the projections are saying it does. And speaking of which, the defenses I think are always really interesting on these weeks because it is really, really tricky. And you have the top defense is possibly the worst defense in football. The best point per dollar projection is possibly the worst defense in football. What are you doing at defense?
The Bengals, they're chalky. The Patriots, they're kind of chalky. It looks like Chargers are chalky. So yeah, I mean, defense, I kind of like this 2,400 to 3,000 range. There's like, I don't mind any of these guys in here. The Bears, Giants, Panthers, you can play all of them, right? The one I like probably the most are the Bengals. I like the Rams a lot too. At 2,600, they just kind of fit a little bit. Mm-hmm. I have dumped dive to the $2,200 Commanders in the build, so I've used some of them cheaper ones. I wouldn't say I like some of the more competitive ones. Like I did throw the Panthers in one, but I do like the Bucs more today. But obviously, we attack defenses all over. We just spread it out, guys. I have Browns in one at 3,200 against Cincy. I got the Jets at 3,700 against New England's a good defense. I think there have been, I don't know how many starters are going to play or sit. They've been an elite defense all year. They probably want to go out with a win. I like their defense. I like the Bengals defense. I even like the Cowboys defense at 41. I played them. So I'm very spread out today, guys. I think you can just pretty much spread it out like that. But I'm probably leaning Bengals and Rams to be my most owned defenses today. 2,600.
I think those are logical. And also you're going to get really low ownership on the Rams. I'm going to suggest a slight pivot. Okay, and this is going back to my Baker under pressure. look, they need to win today. Carolina's defense at home actually has probably been better than the numbers will indicate because their offense can't hold the ball long enough. I love Carolina's defense today against Tampa Bay. I know I like it's sort of talking out of both sides because I love Rachaad White and I totally understand the passing game there. But I think that you could see some Baker make some big mistakes today. Carolina is going to everything. They have nothing. They don't have their draft pick. They have nothing to play. They have nothing to lose. They're going to go out there and do their thing as best they can. 2,500. They'd be my favorite cheap defense. And I would go out of my way because I think there's enough value to try and get to the Cowboys today. Yeah, Washington takes the most sacks and turns the ball over. I think the fourth most in football against a defense that forces the most turnovers and creates the second most pressure. It seems like a pretty good spot to spend up. You know, I don't usually love spending $4K for a defense, but that would be one that I would certainly have no problem doing. I don't think I would do the Chargers thing just because it's popular. I'll probably just skip it. I don't think that we should assume that Kansas City won't be able to move the ball against them. They'll still be able to. The Chargers are the worst team in football right now. So I wouldn't be playing that chalk personally. The other ones that sort of are interesting, I would try and keep it. I actually have a tighter defense, pool than I probably this week than I thought I was going to. But because I think the right thing to do is, like you said, spread out. But I like those three so much, and I'm really, I guess Cincinnati is the logical chalky one. But I would rather just go to, why don't we just play the Chiefs defense against the Chargers, even with them sitting people? Like, look, we just saw the Raiders. The Raiders defense put up like 35 fantasy points against this team a couple weeks ago. Why can't we go and try and attack Easton Stick? So that would be another one I would consider. But I actually really like that Carolina, and I really like the Dallas defenses.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. A little bit more too on the. I mean, just from how you talked about it, I agree with how you seen it.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out one thing that Art's mentioning in here, the Mercedes Lewis thing. I don't like that play. And I understand. Let me just explain. I know Mercedes Lewis forever, since he was at UCLA. He is a blocking tight end. You will get the occasional, he's a guy. The definition of him is sort of like what we used to say. Well, a little different with Parham, but you use him in showdown. You know what I mean? Not a guy you want to play on a 13 gamer, in my opinion. You're really asking for a lot if you want to expect too much out of.
Yeah, I mean you're not getting enough price savings on him. You're also not getting the upside on him. I mean, there's also Robert Tonyan there that's getting work too behind Kmet. So he's really like a third guy. So you're right. He's just coming in to block. Kmet's the big end zone threat. Tonyan a little bit more, and then Mercedes Lewis. I definitely don't like the play. At all. There's no upside. There's no, Cole Kmet could score 2 touchdowns and have 30 points, where Lewis could have 7 is his best. Maybe get the dumped 1 catch for a touchdown at best, and that's been a while since he's done something like that. So, I definitely don't think you need it. There's a lot of good tight ends we just talked about on the slate. So yeah, I just ran some lineups on FanDuel. We also need to talk about one quick thing on FanDuel. There is some Buffalo-Miami game on the FanDuel slate today, guys, as well. So we didn't mention Hill and Devon Achane. I think the Dolphins really want to win. The Bills also really want to win. So that's a very competitive game. If you're playing over on FanDuel, you have the late night hammer, and that game's a Sunday night game. They added it to the main slate on FanDuel. So don't forget to include those players if you're playing over on FanDuel. I know some of our players do play over there quite a bit. You can see some lineups. You're getting a lot of Mullins, some Josh Allen. You're getting some Geno Smith and some builds here. Even Tua build with Hill. So you're getting a lot of Nick Mullins. There's some good cheap plays over there. Eckler 6,400, Aaron Jones 6,800, Ronnie Rivers only 4,800 over there. Definitely some cheap plays you can play on FanDuel that we didn't mention. Lockett's a lot more priced up over there. Metcalf's more priced up over there. Ferguson's a little more over there. Jefferson's 9,000 over there. Hopkins only 6,800 over there. It's a pretty good play.
Yeah.
Zamir White 6,500 over there. Pollard 7,600. He's a little priced up over there. So a little bit of differences for FanDuel. I don't know if you guys have any more questions. Drop them in the chat. If you have FanDuel, I know someone asked about lineup building on FanDuel, so I just did a quick little build there to show some players because we do have that extra game. As well.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, by the way, because I do think that I actually think that the Josh Allen stacks are that's what I would be doing on FanDuel. And look, if you want to adjust along the way, if you I don't know, I really like that spot. I think Josh Allen And whether you just want to single pair him, whether you want to double pair, whatever you want to do, Josh Allen, it would be in the Bill stacks would be very, very high on my list on FanDuel.
Yeah, Dalton Kincaid's low on FanDuel at 5,700 as well. So if he gets a good game, I know Knox has been getting some work, obviously, but Kincaid could have a touchdown. Oh, Kirk's out, huh?
What?
That's
Kirk is
weird.
out now? What's going on?
You're right. They made Zay Jones is active and Christian Kirk is inactive. That's huge news, guys.
Yeah, so
that
Calvin
3K
Ridley.
Yeah, that 3K play was
And
going to be
Zuko.
huge. I still like Ingram and Calvin Ridley. I told you my Lawrence stack has Calvin Ridley and Ingram in it from when we did that earlier. But that's going to be some big news, guys, on the update here. When the projections will get updated here about I checked 12:30. We should have everything finalized here. So some use SaberSim will be updated probably a little bit quicker today. Goalies should have some stuff out soon, so the aggregates shouldn't be fire. So yeah, I don't know if you got much more, Bobby, or
Yeah, I just want to throw in really quick that I think that makes Jacksonville more appealing because I kind of like the whether you want to say Ridley, like Kirk was going to be really popular, and I wasn't, I was sort of questioning it because I thought he was really actually hurt. I thought they would use him as a decoy, so I didn't even bring him up before. But Ridley now, I think Ridley and Ingram, I think this is a big boost for them. And I look, Tennessee is a pass funnel defense. I'm good with attacking some of that passing game, which I wasn't going to do before. I did want to say my overall take, before you take us out of here and everything. I love Rachaad White is my thing. Rachaad White and now some of the Jacksonville pieces. But other than that, I would say play the afternoon games. Get exposure to that Bears and Packers game. Get exposure to the Dallas Washington game, and especially my main one is that I'll say that there are three players in the Seattle Arizona game in the winning, or in the maybe the optimal, maybe not the actual winning lineup because they may not get three players from that game, and Rod White will be in the winning the optimal lineup is my take.
Yeah, I definitely like that. To be honest with you, I was thinking really about playing that Trevor Lawrence, Ingram, Ridley stack in one of my main lineups today. So I might have to go that way. It might even get a little bit more chalkier though, so we could worry about that. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything to follow up. Let's just watch injury, guys. Inactives and actives. Stay in the Discord. I should be able to be in the Discord today quite a bit. I know you can see Bobby. He's out in the Caribbean, living it up. Mexico, wherever he's at. I forgot. What are you guys staying on a resort out there? What are you guys doing?
Family. Yeah. Just
got a bunch of family at a resort.
Yeah, I got a huge family thing down here. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice. Getting a lot of drinks or just hanging
out.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty mellow. We did a couple little sailing trips, little fishing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Been good time.
Nice.
But I miss y'all. I'll be back on. I probably won't be back for content on Tuesday, but I'll post stuff over the next couple days. I'll be able to, and I probably can even do live stuff for the NBA tomorrow. I just can't play, so I'm gonna be. I'll just be telling it for you guys, but I'll be around for the next couple days. I should have, fingers crossed, be able to for the next couple days. But I'll be back Tuesday night, and I will be good and back ready to go, firing up the year for me on starting on Wednesday, and excited to see what we can do this year, guys. Rody, anything else before we get out of here?
No, I'm just commenting. Someone asked if I was on Twitter, and I was just telling them, yes, I have a Twitter. I posted my Twitter in the chat if you guys want to follow along there. Also follow the True DFS Twitter. Posting a lot more, trying to post a little bit more over there as well, guys. So make sure we follow that. Stay in tune with the live streams. You can also be in the Discord. We have Discord notifications for injury news, Twitter feeds, and all of the sweet stuff in there when we go live and when people post comments and information. Is really good chat in there, guys. So join in the Discord. Also, if you're not subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube page. And we're only at 12 likes, guys. We got over up to 27 likes yesterday on the show. It helps the show. We've seen a really good amount of views yesterday on the Saturday show. Let's try to hit that like button before you go out. Appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoy the content. Get in the Discord. I'll be in there. And I think that's it. I don't think Bobby's got any more. 28 of you guys in here. That should be 28 likes, right? I'm just sorry, it was a fast show, but actually it was about 46 minutes, so decent show. We started a little behind. It was pretty wild. I like the show. We had SaberSim up there. It looks clean today. So I really Really hope you guys enjoyed the show. And I don't have anything. I'll take us out if you're ready, Bobby.
Go ahead. It's been a fun season. I'm really bummed out to miss out, especially after having 3 5-figure weeks in a row. So I'm ready. I'm sad to miss today, but I wish everybody else all the money that I would have won today. So good luck out there, and I look forward to seeing you guys Wednesday.
Yeah, hopefully I can have the win today. I think I just heard some birds chirping. That was kind of a nice little touch in there, Bobby.
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of activity going on.
You got a lot of activity going on around where you're at, man. So enjoy, have a good time there. Finish out the week, and then get ready for the grind next week. So good luck, everybody. Week 18. This is our final show of week 18. We'll have other shows for the rest of playoffs, but that's it. So as always, good luck, guys, and let's